Thanks, Rob. Thank you very much. I'm ex-BioComposites Centre as well, where Rob works, so I've got a bit of a history with this. It's the reason I came to North Wales actually in 1992 was to work with the BioComposites Centre. So it's a banger success story.
Look at your career.
My career has been doing it ever since. But it's great to see so many people here. It's fantastic. We've had to upgrade the room 3 times because of numbers, and that's really, really pleasing. Particularly good selection of people, actually. It's almost a perfect event for trying to stimulate supply, product, specification, manufacturing and supply of product. Because we've got clients, we've got processors, we've got architects, we've got the technical guys, and we're all actually in the room. So if we can't collectively network and make things happen, then it's a missed opportunity as far as I'm concerned. Ultimately, Wood Knowledge Wales, I see our role as setting very high aspiration for what we can achieve in the timber industry in Wales, and then delivering real tools and solutions on the ground to make it happen, so that you don't fall foul of this high aspiration in policy, which is quite a common feature of Wales, and then not very good delivery. But there's a real opportunity right now, I believe, politically, because it's now widely accepted that the current house delivery system is broken, even by those in power at last, even though everybody's been telling them it's been broken for about 20 years. And there is real investment going into alternatives. Maybe we've not seen that on the ground just yet, but I'm convinced it's coming. So I'm the chief exec of Wood Knowledge Wales. It was a government-funded entity as a sector organisation, formed with a different name in 2001. Now it's a not-for-profit, for public good, member-funded organisation, which actually gives us more scope to be strategic and long-term, and also gives us independence from short-term commercial interests. So I think it's an interesting model for not just for the timber industry, but other industries as well. Time will tell. So I'd like to give you a small intro to Wood Knowledge Wales, what we are and what we're doing, and then lead into the real meat of today, which is about timber cladding. We've got some fantastic speakers. So this is actually our second event. Wood Knowledge Wales is running a campaign for timber cladding throughout the whole of this year, and this is the second event of 3. And at the end of the 3 events, we'll produce an output, which we hope will be what's required to support increased specification and use, which is ultimately what it's all about. I should say I was the executive chair of Wood Knowledge Wales. We now have a new chairman who, as some of you may know, is Shane Hembrow, who's the deputy chief exec of Wales and West Housing Association. And they are very committed to procuring timber in their solutions to be as sustainable as they can and to support the Welsh supply chain in doing that. I'll talk a little bit more about that in my presentation as we go forward. So our aspiration is to champion the development of wood-based industries in Wales. And Wales has a fantastic opportunity. We've got low forestation rates, we've got low processing rates. We don't use timber to the best of its advantage in high-value applications. So there's an awful lot that we can do to improve the situation, and that's where we see ourselves fitting in. These are our founding members. We're growing at about a member a month, which is perfect. It's the kind of rate that we like to grow because it gives us a chance to explain the value to new members. And you can see already within that membership group that you have clients such as Wales and West Housing, Trevalis, Group Cynefin, Bron Avon. You've got architects such as Doug Hughes Architects. You've got timber framers, Forest Timber Engineering, joinery suppliers. You've got Clifford Jones. I think Sarah's here or registered, maybe not got here yet, from Clifford Jones. They're our newest member. A consultant who's an ex-Bangor wood scientist actually, and Akoya. Justin's here somewhere from Axis. This is the modified wood that can be used for manufacture of windows and cladding. a way of making wood more durable without using toxic chemicals. Very interesting and innovative technology. So, and actually the power's in the network. So within that, you've got clients committed to changing what they do, and you've got supply chain able to deliver. So I think it's a very powerful model. And you in this room are an example of the collaborative network. So technical and market development is what we're about, changing policy and strategy, and I'll talk a little bit about that. Skills, Rob's already alluded to skills. We actually need to rethink the way that we're training young people to work in the construction industry because it is changing. In fact, the Farmer Review, which was a very high-level review recently, said it's actually the industry will be forced to change because there won't be the people with the skills to do building in the traditional way in 10 years' time. So we have to systemize it. We have to produce more factory-based solutions. Construction has to move away from building more to assembly and a lot more certainty about performance. I describe Wood Knowledge Wales as a change organisation because there's an awful lot to change. And really what we want to change, we want more and better housing, we want more local manufacturing to feed into this housing, we want more homegrown and local timber, and we want more and better forests. And I think all of that meets the aspiration of Welsh Government and ticks an awful lot of economic, social and environmental boxes. It's just not happening at the rate that it should. In terms of buildings, we have to build more systemised, more off-site, more energy efficient, healthier. I also chair the Alliance for Sustainable Building Products, and we're running an event next week in London on healthy buildings, because one of the challenges is once you increase energy efficiency, you potential for the problems of indoor air quality. And actually this is an area where timber and timber products really helps. So we need to move towards consistency and systemised solutions, which could be modular but don't need to be modular. The key word there for me is systemised. They need to be predictable. We need to do it in a way that maximises the sustainability benefits. And a lot of that comes from changing what we've traditionally done in the past and doing things better and different, and certainly trying to support local industries to grow and thrive. So I often describe it as being more about the people than the trees. It's not really about the trees, it's about the people that we employed in processing, in manufacturing, in building, about the communities around the forest, about the amenity. Employment in particularly rural areas is key. So I think if we focus on the people, I think we come to a more positive outcome. Yes, it's about using local timber where possible and appropriate, but actually the high level shift is to move to wood, and then to get as much local and Welsh produced timber into that supply chain as possible. It's also about improving our natural environment. That, I would argue, is a degraded landscape. That's the Cambrians. It should be covered in trees. It should be covered in animals. It should have richer soil, and it's got nothing. We certainly need more and better forests. We need to find ways to get trees planted in the Welsh uplands to increase biodiversity, to improve air quality, to improve soil quality, for flood alleviation where appropriate, increased amenity, and of course the big one, climate change mitigation. Timber not only can be quantified, forests can not only be quantified as a climate change mitigation solution, it's now recognised that if you put the timber into housing, you're storing the carbon over a long term. And subsequent to the Paris Agreement, which was the big global agreement last year, which is pretty historic on climate change, the UK Climate Change Commission, which is now being disbanded, but their last report quantified the opportunity for using timber in construction. So there are high-level policy drivers as well that need to come through. So a few things we are doing. So with Powys, we support the Homegrown Homes Partnership as Wood Knowledge Wales. Powys are committed to trying to support the local timber industry, and they've recently approved a wood encouragement policy which requires them to look at using timber in any of their housing delivery going forward, and to try to use local timber and local manufacturers, which is not to say that it happens. All they've got to do is look at it. Our job as Wood Knowledge Wales is to make it happen. But within that partnership, we've got a lot of clients, we've got a lot of organisations with the power to affect change, not just local authorities, but housing associations, Natural Resources Wales, Community Housing Cymru and the Welsh Local Government Association. So there's momentum building behind being able to make this happen. And actually one of the purposes of this event is to inform the creation of a tool that we can then use to support the specification of cladding for this group of clients. Because it's very easy to have policy saying we should do it, and it's very easy to have clients saying we'd like to do it, but that doesn't mean it will happen. So I very much see the role of Wood Knowledge Wales of providing the resources to enable it to happen. That's the evidence of performance, that's the suppliers, that's the technical backup, that's the case study to show that it works. Perhaps a little bit of evidence of why UPVC is toxic and dangerous and we shouldn't use it, things like that. So, so the Homegrown Homes Partnership basically is providing a demand-led stimulus for the industry, and committing to producing high-performance housing and to maximise the social value, and that really is about supporting local industry in a way that stimulates processing and forest planting. Actually, the final, I think that's my fine, you can't read this, but that's basically the wood encouragement policy. It's available on our website. It's the first such policy in the UK, and we're quite excited about it. It's a local authority committing to change and recognising that they have a very powerful role to play in affecting that change. So it was unanimously, bar one, voted through Paris Cabinet on the 17th of January, so it's really hot off the press.